Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin. I am your host tonight, and we have one other very special Infinity Bro with me. It is Mark Jones.
I'm here. I'm back. Old reliable on
Old
stage.
reliable, good
It just
old Marky Mark
I'm
and the
like
Funky
every
Bunch.
Infinity
Just
Bro has a red phone that they pick up and it's just I'm already on it. Like, yep,
it's like
what
under
do
a
you
glass
need?
case, like
Yep.
in each of our houses. And whenever we need you, we just go down to the red phone, and
Yep.
Mark always answers
Always
every
answer,
single
always there.
time.
Day or night, rain or
Old,
shine.
old reliable Mark
I'm
Jones.
back.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here to talk about Star Wars, Andor, and Tales of the Jedi. Some fantastic content that we are very excited to talk about. But if you're new here, thank you so much for checking us out. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, all the things, and theinfinitybros.com for all your Infinity Bros needs. We have some sick merch that you can go pick up. You'll find beautiful looking Zane Ellis, who was supposed to join us tonight, but had some things come up. But you can find him on our store page rocking some of our awesome Infinity Bros merch. So make sure to go check that out. You can also check out Many Worlds Tavern, pretty amazing coffee company that we partner with. You can use the Infinity Bros code to get 10% off your order. And not gonna lie, guys, this coffee is fantastic. I just ordered some new stuff. Electric Sheep, which I have this card here. Actually, I'm kind of showing the YouTube
We're showing
audience
off our
here. They
cards.
give these like game tokens
I got
for like magic and
soldier.
stuff like that. You got some too?
Yeah.
Yes, kittens, and they're kittens on them. Like Max absolutely adores these things because
I'm not
they
a
have
coffee
kittens
drinker,
involved.
but I get it from my dad. And last time I was at my dad's, he's like, "This stuff was good. You should give me more of it." And I was like, "All right, I'll
Nice.
get you more."
There you go. Cool.
So
And
if you have a dad that
I
likes
just got this
coffee,
I got this Electric Sheep, which is actually decaf. My wife is 33 pregnant weeks pregnant right now, and she has started to like back off of caffeine. So she's like, I kind of think I want some decaf. So I was like, all right, let's check out the decaf. And she says it tastes just as good as their other coffee that we've purchased. So good
I'm
decaf is good because I mean the decaf that I have consumed is most of the
not
time
good.
not worth drinking. So
I've never
yeah.
had decaf, but on that note, I also got instant coffee for my father-in-law,
Mm,
and he hasn't had it
hmm.
yet. But because he's the instant coffee guy, because he's like, "Why wait for
Yeah.
coffee when I can just stir it and microwave it?" He's one of those
That is
guys.
so
Doesn't like,
interesting.
yep.
So interesting to me.
It has to be perfect. I remember when we were there when Maggie was born for like we were there for like a month, and then we had storms, like really couldn't come back home. Um, he would like when he would hold her, I'd go make him coffee, and like I sometimes wouldn't do it right, and he was always nice. He's like,
You would
give
pick
it
it
another
out.
try. Like literally, like I'm like all I do is pour a spoonful of coffee in a cup. How did I mess that up? Like it was
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
yeah.
That reminds me of, well, first of all, at work. So I work at a hospital and we have instant coffee, but it's
Uh huh.
like they have the big coffee machines and it's literally like a syrup concentrate that
Oh
you like
yeah.
put in there and then like just the hot water dilutes it basically. So it's not good coffee, but like that. And then that always reminds me of church coffee. Like you go into like, some of these, and you know what I'm talking about, Mark, growing up in
Oh yeah.
small town Minnesota, going into these church basements, and they have this piping hot coffee that you cannot drink for like 10 minutes when you pour it.
I know that too
It's
well right now. I know what
it's
you're talking about.
so hot that you literally cannot drink it for at least 10 minutes. And then when you drink it, it's the worst coffee you've ever had in your entire life. It's so bad. It's like brown water. Like
It just
yeah.
so like you're
Every
talking about this.
every small town church has this, by the way. It's like a thing.
So like the church also has instant coffee too. And I was thinking back to my father-in-law. It's like yours was a syrup at work.
Hmm.
Both like I don't like coffee, and like the instant coffee is like worse than regular coffee. But the instant coffee that they both have, it looks like chew, like
Oh, yuck.
tobacco, like chew.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Mm.
like so off-putting. Like mix it, anyways. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Would not be my first choice, but one of my first choices would be Many Worlds Tavern. So
taverns.
make sure you guys check that out. Good stuff, by the way.
And my dad's
So,
kind of coffee
anyways,
snob, so you know it's good coffee. I'm just saying that. I'm just gonna put that out there. So
yeah.
go try it out.
I wouldn't say I'm a coffee snob because I still drink the terrible hospital coffee. Like I'll drink any coffee basically, but I obviously prefer the good stuff, which Many Worlds Tavern has plenty of choices
It's like
that are the good stuff.
we're getting so off tangent, but about coffee, it's a subject I like would care less about. But I'm just thinking about my dad again. Like he's saying, like, oh, you'll drink anything. My dad was also like, yeah, he's a snob. He likes his good coffee, but he has gone to every like fast food place that has coffee, and I know people don't agree with this. He says McDonald's has the best fast food coffee, and I
Really?
think
That's
that's wild. But
interesting.
I've heard
I
like
mean, I
opposite
actually don't
reports on
mind
that.
McDonald's coffee. Like it's not that bad, but
Yeah,
I don't normally get my coffee from fast food places, so
like
I've never tasted a lot of other fast food coffee, I guess.
he'll go
So
in just to get coffee. Like that's how much he likes it. So like, I think that's wild. And then he
good for
becomes
him.
like he has to get his coffee in whole beans and grind them. But like
Yep.
McDonald's is
Yep.
like it's serviceable.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
there it
right.
is.
And it has the Mark Jones dad stamp of approval, Many Worlds Tavern. Use code the Infinity Bros for 10% off
Yeah.
your order. Good stuff. All right, Mark, are you ready to get into Andor and Tales of
Yes.
the Jedi?
I've been waiting to
Which one do you
talk
want
about
to talk about?
Andor for it
Yes.
doesn't
Oh
matter.
my
Each
gosh.
one I'm
Okay.
fine with, but like
Tell you
I
what.
don't
Tell
think I've
you
been
what.
on a
Tell you what.
pod where we've
I
talked
want
about
to
Andor
talk
before.
about Tales of the Jedi first because I
Okay.
feel like we're going to talk about Andor
I'm along
more.
for the ride. This is
Okay.
I
All
caught
right.
up on everything because I hadn't watched Tales of Jedi,
Good.
which I
Good.
finished
Good.
in a
Good. Good.
day because I didn't know. Okay, we'll go into it. We'll go
It's
into it.
short. It's
Yeah.
short. It's good stuff. Anyways, for those of you guys who are new listeners, we have a special rating system on the Infinity Bros podcast that we want you to be familiar with. So we'll play that bumper right here. So, guys, Tales of the Jedi is this little short series that came out not too long ago, just like was it last week that it came out?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it
Wednesday,
has to be within.
October 26th.
There
Yeah,
you
so it's been a little over a week. But it kind of just snuck up on us, honestly. I feel like we like knew it was coming out, but like I got a reminder like a week before it came out, and I was like, oh, that's coming out next week already.
Yeah, I remember
Okay,
hearing that was
cool.
going to be a project they were going to do, and then that was the last time I really like paid attention to it. I don't know if they had a trailer. I didn't see it. Like this was like I went into this totally blind to what I was to what I was seeing.
Right.
So like that I think made it more
Mhm.
exciting for me. So
Yeah. Yep. And so this is a short 6 episode series of shorts, basically. Each of these episodes are around like 10 minutes long. Um, Animated show in the style of kind of Clone Wars
well,
Rebels,
it
mostly
has
Clone Wars.
it has Dave Filoni as the
Yeah, Dave
creator. So
Filoni
like
is
he definitely was like,
the
let's get the team back together to do the animation.
let's round up the boys. Let's
Yep.
go round 3 actually, because season 7 of Clone Wars was like that was last year already
And Bad
on
Batch
Disney
season 2
Plus.
comes out
And
in
that oh
January.
yeah, gosh, that's coming up too. Oh my gosh, so much
And
Star
I only
Wars
know that
content
because after I was
to
done
consume.
finishing this series, it was like Bad Batch comes out January 2023, and I was like, all right, let's
Yeah.
buckle up.
Buckle up, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, before we get too deep into it, I do want to say that we are going to be spoiling this entire series. There's not a whole lot of spoilers in this. They're just shorts. They're really fun. They're cool. But if you don't want to be spoiled by them, go ahead and pause this episode. Go watch those episodes. It will only take you a total of like 2 hours, I think, to watch all of the shorts combined.
2
Not
hours,
even, like,
not even,
not even. Yeah, they're like 10
bro.
minutes a piece or 6 of them, like a
An
little
like an
over an hour.
hour, yeah.
Yeah. So go watch those quick and then come back and listen to
And it's
our
worth it
review.
because
Yeah, totally
yeah,
worth it.
I was
So
about to go
anyways,
into a review because I'm so like I'm excited.
yeah. So anyways, here is our spoiler warning. All right, guys, Tales of the Jedi. Mark, I'm just going to give you the floor. What did you think of this show? And do you want more of it?
I to quick recap it. If they're doing this with like main characters, with like filler, filler's a bad word, but basically like giving you like, hey, here's what happens between episodes, or even pre episode one, like
Yeah.
stories, love it. To me, it's like if you're doing this, give me. It can even be this short, 6 episodes of 20 minutes of
Mm-hmm.
Shadows of the Empire. Do that for me, please,
Ooh.
Dave Filoni. Go do it
Oh,
because I've
oh
been
my
wanting
gosh.
a Shadows of the Empire. It can be a mini series. It can be animated. I don't care. It doesn't have to be live
This is,
action. I
gosh, Mark.
Shadows of the Empire is my favorite like Star Wars lore, and I want more of it because it ties. And it also ties into like even Andor. You can do a show without a Jedi in the Star Wars world, and it
Mhm.
still works. And if you do it
Yeah,
right, it's amazing. So
absolutely. Yeah. Andor has shown us that you don't need lightsabers, you don't need blasters, you
no,
don't need the Force, you don't need any of that stuff to
yep.
create a good story.
But
So
how
that would be
we'll come back to that.
that would be
I have some
incredible.
more comments on that. What you just said.
We have
So
we have a lot of
back
things
to
to talk
Tales of
about
the Jedi.
Andor.
So I came into this basically not knowing what was going to be told. I just Tales of the Jedi. I'm assuming every episode has a Jedi,
Hmm.
and the first episode was like a good like starter off, like what you're kind of expecting. It really wasn't again like a ton of action. It was like the Ahsoka story, right? Like that's
Yeah.
that was the first episode if I'm remembering. Yep.
Yep. Yep. That's
And
the
then after that
Ahsoka
one,
as a
it kind of
baby.
seemed
Yep.
like I was like, and then the next few episodes, like, is this like the Dooku story? And they just like
Yes. Oh my
backdooring, like this is how
gosh,
Dooku
dude.
became
The
Dooku.
Dooku episodes are fantastic.
Yeah,
Those are, oh, they're so good. Yeah,
but like
so
overall, I
keep
would
going,
give
keep going.
this a 6 out of 6. It was just it was short, sweet, to the point. It was concise and told a gripping like some of those had gripping stories, like the second
Yeah.
episode where it's like young Qui Gon
Hmm.
Jinn and
Yeah.
Master Dooku going to that planet to like save the senator's son, and then figuring out the senator
Yeah.
is like
Hmm.
being bad to the people, and the senator's son figures it out, and basically you kind of like get the glimpse like Dooku is kind of a bad. Well, we know he's a bad guy, but like he did
Right.
some bad stuff, and then
Right.
oh
But you get to see like the humanity that you don't
yeah,
see in the full episodes of like when he was a
and
Jedi
through the
and he's seeing
story,
both sides, right?
yes, you see through the story from each like the episodes, like how he kind of does turn to that. Like he was already
Yeah.
probably on the brink,
Hmm.
but then like he sees how people are being treated, how people think of the Jedi. And then
Yeah.
my favorite episode would probably be the one with him and Yaddle, because I didn't know
Yes.
what happens to Yaddle. Oh, we put a spoiler warning. He basically fights Yaddle and defeats her. So like the other
Right.
version, like the female
Hmm.
version of Yoda. So
Yeah.
so
I was intrigued that they let her have lines and
right.
that it wasn't like Yoda's lines like all backwards
I
grammarly. Like that's not a race thing. That's just a Yoda
yeah
thing. Like
which
Yoda is the
yeah
only one that
Yoda's
does
just
that.
weird. Um,
He's just a weird dude.
which was probably I wonder if that like in the writers' room was that like pitched like we're just gonna do her normal, or someone's like, you know
Yeah.
what, let's be like Yoda's actually a little eccentric and he's weird with
He's
costumes.
just a weird dude. Yeah, exactly.
But initially I
That's
thought that
yeah.
was like Yoda with hair, like more hair. I was like, oh, that's weird. Like how old is this?
Yeah, this is way back in the day
Yeah,
when he had a full head of hair. Also, I mean, we knew this prior to, when episode 1 when we all found out about Yaddle, but like is Yoda just a bald guy in his
maybe.
race too? Like maybe other
Or he's very
um
much more older than Yaddle, and that's he's just lost his hair because
that
he's so
could be
old.
too. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know that Yoda is like, I think he's like 900, 800, and 900 years old in the
He's
events of
so
like the
old they can tell stories of him in his 300s that would be gripping. But then we don't know how he
yeah,
ages though, because like
right.
Grogu is like 50 or 70
Right.
something
And he's
and still a
still
baby.
like a baby looking thing. So yeah, who knows? But anyways, yeah, I'm on the same page as you, Mark. I thought these were absolutely fantastic. Exactly what I was hoping for with this. And we didn't get a whole lot of information about these before they came out. Basically, they're just like, yeah, they're short stories of Star Wars, pretty much
Yep.
is what they said. And we're like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
would give this a 6 out of 6 because
Yes.
these are so I don't know, Mark, do you remember back in the day they used to have these like Star Wars encyclopedias
Yep.
of
I
like
have a
just
few.
random crap facts about like the movies and stuff like that, like just
Yep.
stuff you absolutely did not need to know. about the Star Wars universe. Like, I remember pouring through those things and being like, this is the best. I'm getting all this information that was not, told to us in the movies. Like,
So
this is exactly that, but in movie
yes.
form and way better. Like, these are each little stories that are fantastic, by the way. Like, all of these episodes are great storytelling. They do an incredible job of like making us care about each of these characters in the very short time that we have with them.
So
But
the go into to pause you there where you said like random books that just fillers of like so much like
yeah,
useless, in
right,
quotations
yeah.
useless knowledge. I remember seeing a book and I wish I would have purchased it. It was a few years ago. That it was like a Star Wars book of like topography and geography, like map
Oh
stuff.
my
And I was
gosh.
like, I
Oh,
love that. I love that kind of stuff. And I was like,
be
I should
such
have
a
purchased it when I saw it.
gosh.
And I
I
cannot
feel like
find it
such a
anywhere.
nerd when I talk about stuff like
Yeah.
that, but like I love it so
So I'm
much. It's
I'm
so
I'm
great.
with you. I'm piggybacking on you with like that type of just like the useless
Hmm.
knowledge of Star
Right.
Wars or any fandom
Eh,
really. But that's
right.
fine.
And
But
that's
that's
what
why we
this
love it,
is. This
and that's
right.
what the
That's what
show's
these
about. It's like
are.
it's these like in between. That's why people love Rogue One because it ties Episode 3 and Episode
Right.
4 into like
Yep.
how that stuff happened, or like 50 years of like who got the plans, like what were the
Right.
people that went through all that trouble to get the Death Star plans, and we get to
Yep.
see it. And I think that also what ties. Oh, I was going to go into Andor. We're not there yet.
Not there yet. Not there
But
yet.
like
Just
this
hold on, Mark.
show is just like, and then the final episode where it's like Ahsoka, joining the rebellion basically and defeating
Hmm.
the Inquisitor. Which
Yeah.
initially when I saw the screenshot of it, I was like, are they doing like a Darth Revan thing? Which then ties in like if they do
Oh yeah.
this, they can do Darth Revan stuff, which I think they might be doing something
Right.
in that
Hmm.
world. But like
I could see that.
doing these shorts, I think they're going to find out this is like just enough content where like they could probably keep doing it, and people are going to love
Oh
it.
yeah.
So
Absolutely. And I you hit the nail on the head here. Like, okay, so Dooku specifically,
mhm.
this is an area of prequel Star Wars that has been long criticized as like Dooku, like, where the heck did he come from? What is his backstory? Like, why? Like, what is it about Dooku? And we don't get much information about him in the prequels. They do that on purpose to keep
Well,
him like a mysterious villain.
if you're a
Blah blah
legit,
blah.
if you're a mega fan, Isaac,
Then you would have read novels and
you would
blah
have
blah.
read
Yeah, yeah, I
Dooku
know.
Last Jedi Lost, which I have listened
Okay,
to and
sure.
get his background. But like, yeah,
Okay,
like all
but
the
anyways,
information's basically out there.
it's
If you're a
there.
Star Wars
It's
fan,
there. You just
and
have
you're
to go
like,
find
I
it.
want to know Dooku's background. You're like, I'm not reading a 500-page book. Screw that. I'm not listening to 9 hours of Audible. Screw that. Like, it's all out there. I get you. Like, we are definitely in a society where we live in a society, Isaac,
We live in a society,
where
exactly.
like our content has to be given to us basically through imagery and
Spoon feed us through
yes,
easy things to
which
consume.
I always like. Again, I go back to like if they can do Tales of the Jedi, you just take all the books. You literally have years of content
Right.
just doing those books in 6
Okay.
episode short stories.
Yep.
And
I'm getting to that.
and Disney would just make. Here I am making another pitch to make Disney even billions of more dollars. Do you just see the billions like fly over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Just
I mean, you're commanding them as you're waving your hands
like I
around, like
have
with the force.
so many of those books from the 90s and like 80s and early thousands
Oh
where
my
it's like
gosh.
none of it's really canon anymore, but like you literally could do that stuff, and
Yeah.
these like Star Wars fans that hate the new stuff are going to come back and be like, well, I gotta go check it out, and they're going to come check it out, and they're probably going to love it, even though they'll be online
Right.
like eating their waffle syrups and talking crap about it. So
Yeah. Yep. So, anyways, as I was saying,
I'm
Dooku,
sorry.
you totally derailed me, but that's totally fine. I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. But anyways, Dooku is this mysterious figure that like the casual fan that has not read the 80s and 90s novels and backstories and everything, which they wouldn't be 80s and 90s
Yeah,
because obviously he's a character from the
Dooku
prequels. But
Lost Jedi is a newer book, so
okay, good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mark, for the clarification. But anyways, us casual fans,
Cash.
we're like watching these like this is a whole backstory in
yeah, like,
three. He's
why-
in 3 episodes,
Why
like
does he have
of
the name
like
count?
yeah. Why? Yeah, that's
you learn
another
it in the book.
interesting point. That. But anyways, like this is just fantastic content, and this is okay. This is where we're heading, and you already mentioned this multiple times. The floodgates have opened with this series to the Star Wars universe. They can literally do anything with these shorts, and I will watch them.
Oh yeah.
And I absolutely will be 100% down with anything that they do. They can take some of this extended universe stuff, make it canon. I mean, technically, a lot of that stuff is not canon,
But there's a
as
lot that is
Disney would
canon.
say it, but they can. Some of that, a lot of that stuff is not necessarily antithetical to the what is
Yeah,
canon
like
now. So they can
it
make
doesn't
that
touch the
stuff
story at all.
canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like the flood in my eyes, this series opens the floodgates. Like they can do anything they want with the Star Wars universe with
Oh yeah.
these little shorts and Tales of the Jedi. I think this is fantastic. 6 out of 6. The only thing that I was like a little peeved at was that last episode that you mentioned, the Darth like this
The
Inquisitor
Inquisitor. Yeah.
has like this Darth Revan looking mask, right? Like, and it looks epic. It looks
Well, I thought it
awesome.
was gonna be him because I was like, that looks beat up. I would think
Right.
like a
It
post Revan
looks
story. I
awesome.
was like, let's buckle up, boys.
And when he whips out his lightsaber, I immediately saw that it had the curved
Yeah,
handle. It
where it's
was an
like, oh, he's
Inquisitor
Inquisitor.
lightsaber, and I was like, ah, shoot. I was a little bummed by that, but still, this dude looks awesome. He looks super BA. Like this is going to be an awesome episode. And then Ahsoka just chops his head off, and it's like okay, like this dude looked like he could be a really cool character, and
Well, think
now
about
he's
it.
just dead.
So this has got to be post episode 3, obviously. So
Mm-hmm.
Inquisitor, and then they have Inquisitors. So like, are we
Right,
assuming like is this Inquisitor a former Jedi that was, if you think of like the
right,
Force Unleashed games, was
yeah.
he manipulated through like robotics to be like controlled by the Empire? Or was it like a newbie that has been recruited? So like he just looks badass, but like to normal people
Mm-hmm.
he's like a monster. But to someone that's experienced as
Right,
Ahsoka,
to somebody
he's
who actually
nothing.
has
Yeah.
right the for yeah, and that definitely could
I
be,
mean,
and
you just
that's a
think about
good
Obi-Wan's
logical explanation for it.
the Obi-Wan show where like Obi-Wan goes up against some of the Inquisitors. It's like, yeah, they're not matched to him, especially
Yeah,
the younger
right,
ones. So it's like, it is what it is.
true, yeah, but I mean,
But I agree with you. It's like I
I
want
was
something
like
more
bummed
epic.
because
Yeah.
exactly, I was bummed because I liked this character,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden she just chops his head off, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not going with this
Well,
guy. We're
we're
gonna
just
roll
showing
with
how
somebody else.
experienced and powerful Ahsoka is. I think that's what it really
True.
shows.
And that does like make sense, and I still love that episode because I mean the turning point, you can see the turning point in her mind that she's like, okay, I do actually need to help the resistance, or the rebel, whatever they were called at the time. Like I need to like get into this, and I need to like help this along. So that was really cool to like see her change. But again, every single one of these shorts is just, it's very well done. The storytelling is fantastic. Obviously the animation is incredible, like along the same lines as the Clone Wars TV series, and especially this last season, the Clone Wars season
Yep.
7 that dropped last year. Like great animation. So man, I'm so excited about this, and I really 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 hope they keep going with it, because
And
man,
just
they
let
can do
Dave
anything they
Filoni.
want.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like Dave Filoni is such a fan, and I love seeing the meme where it's like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, like writing the stories for Star Wars. It's like two little kids playing with Star Wars toys because it's literally that because they love
Dude,
this stuff so much, and I think that's
yeah.
what makes it so. What they've done is made so good is because they are true fans
Hmm.
and they want to be true to source material, versus like
Yeah.
when you go to like the Marvel movies and shows, it kind of teeters a little bit because it's like there's so much stories and different like storylines that like that's what happens, versus Star Wars it's like you can't really do that to Star Wars fans as much because Star Wars
Yeah.
fans are typically the worst fans amongst each other. So
Yeah. I mean, they still have, in my opinion, Star Wars fans still take the cake for the worst fandom. MCU fans are really barking up their heels at this point, but
but
I think Star Wars
MCU
fans are still.
but see what I agree with you because a lot of MCU fans are more new since 2008, since like the movie started getting big.
That's
So
true.
like there's
Yeah.
more modern people versus like Star Wars, it really got big in the 70s.
Hmm.
So you have all these like
Right.
boomers
Old people.
and
Right.
young Gen X people who like are so passionate about the first 3 episodes that
Right.
like there shouldn't be like there's people that say there shouldn't be anything more beyond that. And it's like
Right.
that was
Yeah. They're
never
like,
George Lucas's vision.
Right.
And because of those fans is why George Lucas sold the franchise.
True.
So
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah. They beat him down to nothing, and he just gave up on it at some point. And I don't know. Since that point, Mark, do you think we're going in a good direction of Star
Oh,
Wars in
I,
general?
I would say I shouldn't say as long as Dave Filoni will be in good hands because I'm sure they'll replace, if he eventually he'll probably retire when he's in his hundreds.
It's someday. I mean,
But
like
I just
he.
feel like,
I hope
yeah,
he's in his 80s when he does. But
I would say I think yes, if they let people like be able to work without restrictions in this world, and then like people who are passionate for the characters, just like in any IP out there, I think they'll do good. And I think they'll have
Mhm.
success, and I hope there is more. I hope there is continued. I love Star Wars. I'm a guy who's
Yeah,
like, give me anything Star Wars, I'm gonna love it, and
yeah,
I've yet to be disappointed. So I hope we get more.
and I mean, yeah, exactly. And they're showing with this series and with Andor that you can do so much more with Star Wars than just a cool sci-fi action series.
Mm-hmm.
So there it is. There's our transition into Andor. Prequel series to Star Wars Rogue One. In an era filled with danger, deception, and intrigue, Cassian will embark on the path that is destined to turn him into a rebel hero. Series that is currently running on Disney Plus. I believe there is 12 episodes in this season, and we just hit episode 9 with this week.
So because I'm so used to Marvel shows only being 6 episodes, I got this episode 6. Like, oh, that's weird how they ended it like that, and like went 2 weeks without realizing there's more episodes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And this is really a break from Disney Plus's kind of like formula that they've been doing TV shows with, because
Yeah,
Obi-Wan was 9 episodes,
I thought it was only
if I
6.
remember. Was it only? No, you might be right, it was only 6.
I'll look it up.
But like they've been doing these shorter series, um especially with the Marvel shows. They did the 6 kind of mini series format. A lot of people,
Six
including us, have
episodes.
been 6 episodes. A lot of people, including us, have been very critical of that format. They did it the 6 episodes with Obi-Wan, and don't get me wrong, Obi-Wan is a great show. Like,
I
absolutely,
I
absolutely loved it.
agree. I think if you're gonna do 6, if you're gonna call it a 6 episode miniseries or whatever, do an hour long episodes. Like
Yeah.
give us more meat to the
Yes.
subject
Yes. And
because
I will say, I think I liked Obi-Wan as a mini series, as a 6 episode series, more than any of the Marvel mini series or 6 episode series.
even Loki.
So
Uh,
that one,
don't
it's
be
up there.
blasphemous on the
Oh
podcast.
boy, that's close actually.
Luckily, WandaVision has 9 episodes. That's why it's so good.
That one doesn't. I wouldn't even put WandaVision up there, so that doesn't. I think I would. It's up there. I actually put, so on my list of Marvel shows, Loki is my number 2. Moon Knight was number 1 for me.
See, and I think Moon Knight would have been better off if it was an hour long. You could have given more context
Yes,
to it.
it could have been much better, but that just goes to show, like, all of these series, including Loki, I think could have been a lot better if they had not stuck with this 6 episode 40-minute
Sure.
formula, like, if that, even for a lot of these
40
shows.
minutes, but actually 10 minutes of credits.
But 10 minutes of it is credits. Yeah. uh Man, a lot
Back
of
to
lot of
Andor.
people have been, including us again, have been very critical of this 6 episode formula.
But
Andor, they
Andor
come out,
breaks away from that.
breaks away from it in so many ways. Number one, they announce immediately when they announce this show, they're like 12 episodes. They already greenlit season 2 a long time ago. I don't know.
Is there
I don't
gonna
know
be a
how
season
long
2?
ago it
Because I
was.
thought like
Yeah, there's a season
the
2.
actor said he was done with it, unless he meant like done with the character once.
Yeah, they already
wrap.
greenlit a season 2, and it's already showing up at IMDb right
Oh,
now.
there it is.
So I don't know exactly the details on season 2, but I mean,
I'm
we're
sure
not even
you end
through.
it with him running into Jyn Erso, right?
Maybe end the show maybe with
Yeah.
that. I don't know if you end the season with it. I
Oh
don't know,
no,
maybe
no,
you
no! You
do.
went,
Who
you end
knows?
this season with it. I mean, the show you'd end it with, like when you were
Right, the
done to
show.
wrap it
Yeah,
up, you
okay.
end it with like going to
Right,
there because yeah,
exactly. And you've got a decent amount because this show is set 5 years before Rogue One. So
mhm.
you've got a decent amount of time that you can kind of play with here. Um, and just kind of forming it's the roots of the rebellion.
Dude,
And
this
I think there's a lot of cool things to explore. And we're going to get into it here, but man, it's already done
so
an incredible job of that.
the most fascinating part I found with this show as a whole, and maybe you guys talked about it, right? Because I know you and Jarrett talked about it, right? And
Yeah, I think we
a couple
honestly, I'm
episodes
trying
ago.
to remember. It's been a while. I think the like maybe first 2 episodes we reviewed or something.
So the episode where you find out that he's from a planet that like had no contact with the outside world, and they live like indigenous people, I was just
Hmm.
like, that is such a mind-boggling concept of
Yeah,
like these people not knowing anything about space travel.
right. In
Ship
Star Wars.
in Star Wars, a ship crashes on them, and then they basically all get taken and go and live amongst other planets in a sense. I
Yeah,
thought that was so, and then it tells a whole story like it's basically an immigrant story, and then on top of that, it's like then also soul crushing, people because of the Empire's grip on everything. Oh, it's Andor. Like I know we say it, and we have friends that say it. It is a show that is slept on by many and
hmm,
underappreciated and tells such
absolutely.
a gripping story in a Star Wars world without the main players that you would think would
Yeah,
needed for a Star Wars story.
exactly. Like, okay, coming into the show, let's just like rewind it a little bit. Were any of us really excited about the show? Because I can say that I was not. I was like, why do we need this show? Like, this is
I
I didn't even remember casting Andor from Rogue One. Like I liked Rogue One a lot, but like I was like, I don't remember this guy very much. So like,
besides it being a Star
sure,
Wars show, yeah, I wanted to see it, but like him as I was like I thought it was a little weird that like out of all the characters you could choose from to like do it just a show solo on, I thought that was kind of weird, but
yeah,
I mean,
just
yeah,
just
it's
wild.
like that in the Chippendales movie. It's like, did we want it?
Yeah,
And then we go watch it, and like,
that's
oh,
true.
this is actually what we wanted. So
This is
like,
actually the best thing I've ever seen. This
congratulations,
is,
Disney.
yeah, that's so true though. But like, I watched this trailer initially, and I'm like, oh, this actually looks pretty good. Like,
Mhm.
I'm like more interested now. In the first like 2 3 episodes, I was like, this is this is pretty good. Like, this is good.
This is better than I thought it
episode
was going to be.
6
Yeah.
episode 6 hits,
Which one's that?
and holy crap, like up until that point, episode 6 might be the best single episode of Star Wars TV
Is that when
in
they?
history.
Is that when they
That's
finally
when
get
they
the
that's when
money?
they finally pull off the
Okay,
heist.
that's right. Okay, yes, that's right. Because that's the episode I thought I was like, oh, this is a cool way to end it, and then I was like, I
Yeah.
stopped watching it for 2 weeks, and then I came back.
Yeah. Like, so they finally pull off this heist, and like through I will give them credit, like through the first 5 episodes, it is a little bit slow building, which is
Yeah.
fine. I think a lot of people nowadays, and we've talked about it on the
Well,
show, we've got short attention span. So we're like, oh, action, I need
and
something, I
that's
need something, I
and I
need
feel like that's
something.
something I've like advocated for. It's like that's what's if you do it right, a slow build show, but you need longer episodes. You can't do like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
The slow
Yeah.
build with a bigger like there's going to be a big payoff at the end. We're going to get a
Oh,
big
yeah.
payoff.
We've already
So
had huge payoffs, and there's going to be a bigger payoff at the end of the
because
season.
that was the
So,
little joke in the beginning. It's like
whew,
when are they going to finally do this heist? It's like we're 3 episodes into
yeah,
this heist.
they
When is it
build
going to
this up
happen?
so much,
Yeah,
and it's so important. Like, I'm like sitting here watching these episodes, and my heart is pounding.
yeah.
Like, I'm like, this is so intense, and it's so weird because like there's nothing really happening at that exact moment. Like, there's no battle being fought. There's no lightsabers flashing. There's nobody's getting choked out with the force or something. Like, it's literally just people plotting. There's people like preparing. They're doing all this stuff to get ready for this heist. And it's so engaging and so intense. And I'm like, why is this so interesting right now? Like, this is incredible. And then they finally pull off the heist. That was, oh my gosh, that was such an incredible episode. Just like they finally get around to doing it, and maybe the most intense episode I've watched up until that point. But now,
and characters get killed. Things like
and
just
characters get killed. Yeah.
unexpected. Like, oh, they're killing that
Oh
guy.
my
Oh, that
gosh.
guy's getting killed. Like,
Oh my gosh. Like the one that got me was Nemec, right? So like Nemec is this kind of like naive guy who's got all these like ambitious ideals of like, the rebellion and stuff like that. So we go through this heist and a couple of their members get killed off.
yeah,
And Nemec is at the end here. They finally are getting out. They don't like some of the like containers of gold or whatever material it is don't
credits.
get
Yeah.
secured. One slides down and snaps his spine. When that happened, I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like this is brutal."
And I think that's what
Just
makes the show so good. Like that episode as a whole,
yeah,
so good. It's like we're not like in a fairy land where everything's hunky dory. Like
no,
there are real consequences that these people are
there are
putting themselves
stakes.
through
Yeah,
for
these are high
for the
stakes.
rebellion. And I think that's what the story is telling. It's like there are people being pushed down so hard by the Empire that they
Right,
are willing to do anything. And granted, it's Cassian who's like navigating the plane or the ship,
right.
but like
Mhm.
it's like that's the stakes are so high what they're doing.
Right.
Where
And it's so weird because like if you're looking at it at a global or like universal scale,
galactic scale,
I mean it's galactic scale. It's not really that big. Like it's kind of a big deal, but not really that big. It's kind of started to create a stir, which we see in the
well,
next
and
3 episodes.
exactly
The
where it's like
ISB is like
yeah,
investigating it or
where
whatever.
that
But
the
like
character like
each
figures it out. Yeah,
right, each individual person in this episode, the stakes are as high as they possibly could be.
right.
And you see that through each character and how they are acting, how the fantastically acted show, by the way, by all of these actors, Diego Luna leading the way as Cassian Andor. Every single actor in the show has been incredible up to this point. I think this show might
And,
honestly be my favorite show of the year by the time it's done.
and I love that in these future in like these post prequel like movies and shows they've kept everyone with an English accent. Like that's the world we live in.
Mm,
That
yeah,
like a lot of like the majority of people who
it's
talk
like the
are have
common
English.
language. Yeah,
Where it's like they had what is it the episode 8 where Saul Guerrero shows up and he's like the only one, like
mm,
basically the first person you've heard that doesn't have an English
yeah.
accent.
Right. Well, and it totally it's actually like so Star Warsy that like all of the uppity high society high class people, they all have the English accents. And then
Uh-huh.
like Cassian Andor, Saw Gerrera, all these like normal people
Yeah,
have like just normal English, not English like British accents, like
yeah.
English accents. So I was just like, this is fantastic. So, anyways, one thing I wanted to point out in that episode too is that like first of all, Jarrett and I talked about this in our episode that we reviewed, but episode 1 starts off with Cassian Andor murdering 2 dudes in cold blood, which I did not expect at all. I was
I
like,
wouldn't say it was necessarily cold blood. He didn't just go out there to kill him, but I
well,
get it.
sure, but like he still did it and it showed it, and it was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, this
that set the tone for the series. I would agree.
yeah, it did. And then at the end of episode 6, Cassian Andor well, it's not even a confrontation right away, but like what's his name? Shoot, I forget his name. The kind of the guy that
Like,
Cassian ends up killing. I
oh,
gotta look
I
that
forget
up.
his name too, but I know what you're talking about. Where he just
Um
at the end of that episode,
yeah.
he like knows he's like basically he knows he's gonna betray them, and he
Mhm.
just like that one I would say is more motivated. But yeah, that one would be more cold blood, where he just like without
Skeen. Yeah,
hesitation
Skeen.
just like
Yeah.
takes him out.
So like he has this confrontation with Skeen outside the door, and Skeen's like, hey, we should just like steal all the money and run. Like,
Yeah.
screw these guys. And Cassian is like, no, just whips out his gun and shoots him. And I was like, what? Like the same feelings that I had in episode 1 repeated here. I was like, I did not expect that. Like it's Star Wars, right? Like you expect all these characters to be like generally good and like, oh yeah, like, oh, we're going to do the right thing in each situation type of thing.
They've made these
No.
characters grounded and real.
Yeah.
That's what makes
Very
the show
grounded.
so good.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
on top of that, you have all these little subplot stories with like the
Mm-hmm.
senator with the other guy who was part of the other like police force from the other world, who's
Yep.
now are they in Coruscant? But yeah, now like
Yeah,
kind of
I
in
believe
these
so.
last few
Yeah.
episodes, finally like because
Hmm.
he's made so many reports that the one I forget her name, the lady who's like kind of been figuring out that hey, there's something going on here. There's some rebellion going on here. There's
Hmm.
all these like little things that were going off,
Hmm.
not being shown. That he kind of gets involved, and then they're finally what trying to they actually find out or trying to hunt down Cassian, and he's actually in prison for like basically doing nothing. That's how crazy it gets, where it's like the Empire's now arresting people and doubling their time because
Hmm.
of these rebellion like situations that are going on. So
Right.
it'd
Yeah.
be I can't wait how those stories unfold because we know with the
Yeah.
senator nothing bad really happens with her because clearly she still stays a
Yeah.
senator.
Because exactly, and she becomes the face leader of the rebellion,
Yeah,
in Rogue One. So we know, obviously, I mean, we know the history or the future of a lot of these characters.
yeah,
So we know kind of what happens, but we're learning some of their backstory, which Mon Mothma, I mean, like, uh, you know, to me, when I was watching the old ones as a kid, I didn't even know she had a name.
yeah.
I thought she was just some random like rebel person that was like there, like doing all the presentations and stuff. You
Here's our
know,
presenter.
here's our presenter person, and here we are learning her backstory, and like she's telling us all these like childhood things, and like we're seeing the beginning of the rebellion through all these things that she's doing, and it's just like
And with
wow.
her story, we're learning that like since the emperor's gotten more power, that they've like her driver he can't be trusted because like the banks can't be trusted because it's new faces. Like how much just like seeding the empire's doing to like have
Hmm.
legit full control over everything and
Yeah.
every whisper. It's
Right.
wild.
Yeah, this is beautifully set up, beautifully playing out right now. So we're up to episode 9 right now.
Yep.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So we're getting like the ISB, investigating all
More
this rebel
involved,
activity,
getting more money and
getting more involved. Right?
and
They
more
they know something's up.
manpower.
They're
Yep.
starting to catch a little whiffs of the trail. So we got gosh, I'm so terrible with all these names of people. But we've got the main ISB
We have that
lady,
guy, that
that
lady.
guy, the main ISB lady who is
We
like
have
kind of
Andor,
investigating. There's Andor,
and
yeah.
then there's
He's the guy I do know.
human Snoke.
So we've got gosh, okay, I'm looking them up here. We're gonna go see the cast. We've got this main ISB lady who is like kind of heading up the investigation of all of this rebel activity. Um, and Miro. So she's Admiral Miro, or I don't remember what her title is, but Miro, she's like investigating all of this stuff.
So
And
I'm sorry, it made me think every time I see her as a commander, and the rest of the round table being like old men. Are they eventually going to tell us like how like the Empire decides to be like, you know what, we're just going to do only white men as our leaders? Like it's
that's our
eventually got to be
villains.
told that like no one, no female, no person of color anymore because we're the Empire, and the
Yeah,
Empire can only be human male people.
right.
And then
But
Thrawn, but he gets a
here,
pass.
okay, this I think that's hilarious. But here's actually this series breaks the mold a little bit because we're actually getting like backstory on some of these Empire people.
Yep.
Like we're getting to know Miro, and obviously she still is like sadistic, like, and she's like using this doctor to
Well,
like torture people and give information
gosh,
and stuff like that.
isn't
But we're
one of her
seeing
things?
some glimpses of humanity in some of the things that she's doing.
Sure. Like
Not enough to make anything, like
you say
excusable
that,
that she's doing,
but
but
then I think is it the last episode where they decide like, oh, we're gonna go kill a pilot and make it look bad,
yeah,
and that was
yeah,
her suggestion. I'm like, and they're just like,
yeah,
yeah, just make sure
yeah,
the
yeah, it's
tracks don't
fine.
lead back to you.
Yeah, basically. So, anyways, but it's interesting getting to know the backstory of these people who we all assume are just like basically nameless, faceless Empire people who do the bidding of the main Empire person type of thing.
Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, the Emperor, generally. But then
The Empire
also,
guy.
on top of that, this last episode, oh my gosh, this was a banger of an episode. Holy crap. Okay, so Cyril Karn. He's like this like random like security officer who gets like caught up in all of this Cassian Andor stuff, and he's like becoming obsessed with this case. All of a sudden turns stalker in this because Miro visits him and is basically like, we know you know about this, like give us all your information. And then she promotes him at his job, and he all of a sudden gets this idea of like, oh, like she's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Well,
And
what was it? She
the
put in a good word
creepiest,
for him. Yeah.
yeah, right, the creepiest Star Wars interaction that exists.
Right?
Like the dude tracks her down to her work
Knows that she's going to
and
be there.
knows that she's gonna be. He's been watching her. He says to her like, oh, I know like where you go, I know you, or like I know where you're gonna be at, like type of thing. Like so stalkery, so creepy. And this guy like, so he confronts her. She tries to leave in the middle of his sentence, which I think is the best thing about that whole interaction. She's just like, this dude is nuts, and just like tries to leave, and he just like gets in front of her and stops her. Man,
But
isn't that the craziest stalker slash creepy
yes,
interaction
it,
in
it
Star
is.
Wars right now?
It would be if she didn't hold so much power. I don't know why that like makes me like feel it less. But like
Right,
knowing where he's coming from, where he basically like he did overstep when he was back on his old job. I do think that, but he
right.
was trying to
Oh yeah,
solve this
absolutely.
murder, and it was like had actually good leads, and then just
Right.
gets like pushed to the side, and then you basically he has to move back in with his mother, and like that interaction is wild too. You like start
Yeah,
feeling
true.
bad for the guy, and he gets like this obviously crap job, and like I think we're gonna get where like he wants to be part of the Empire and like help the Empire, and I wouldn't be surprised if like he gets that position and learns that like nope, that's not what I want to be a part of, and becomes part of the rebels. So
Really? You
yeah, so
think that guy is going to be become a rebel?
maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like
That dude is
rebellion is
like
built on
the
hope.
biggest.
Isaac,
That rebellion is built on hope. That guy is the biggest Empire lapdog I think
I
I've
know.
ever
That's
seen in
how
my
I feel.
entire
But like
life.
I think that if they do a good payoff, it wouldn't be surprising if he turns out to be like ends up being
So
a good guy,
okay,
given different circumstances that might happen
so
because of the Empire
Miro
crapping on him.
Miro does something to break his heart,
Yep.
and that's the turning point for him. He's
Yep.
like, oh, I guess she doesn't love me.
Yep. But that's this
That's
whole
the
thing with the
turning point
mom is
for
like,
him.
are you gonna find like a woman to marry or whatever? So it's like clearly this dude's like in love with her. So like,
Yeah,
I'm just like, and there's only 3 more
that
episodes left. So like, how we?
was that such a weird turn though, because like I was like, when that interaction, like I obviously knew he had some kind of obsession with her, but I thought it was like just related to the case. But when that
No.
interaction happens, you're just like,
Wow.
oh my
Okay.
gosh,
Okay.
okay, alrighty then. Now we have a true stalker in Star Wars. So here we go. But man, everything from episode 6 on, I feel like every interaction between any of these characters, any minute detail that is happening, everything has been building the tension in this show. Like, again, we're just watching people do everyday things,
Mm-hmm.
and my heart is pounding like really hard during these episodes. Like it's crazy
And when they
how intense these episodes are.
get to the prison,
Oh, the prison, man. Oh,
so
okay. Let's talk about the prison.
okay, well, like basically the last few scenes in the last episode. Anyways, you talk about you go on, and then we'll get to that.
Okay. So the prison. So we got Cassian Andor. He like gets his cut of the heist,
Yep.
goes off and goes on vacation.
Yep.
Gets picked up by the Imperials for literally just like running away.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's using a different name, so they don't know he's Cassian Andor, which is kind of hilarious actually. Like it's so funny that there's this giant empirical system, and he just gets lost in it. Like they have no idea where he is.
Facial recognition like technology that they have. That's what I thought was wild.
You would think so with all the technology that they have. But anyways, it's kind of it's ironic, but still like I enjoy that we have this like weird dichotomy of like he's within the Imperial system,
mm-hmm.
and they still are looking for him and can't find him. So anyways, he gets caught by the Imperials, sentenced to do like manual labor for like, I don't know, what was it, like 6 years or something
Yeah, he
like
gets
that.
6 years because they had just
They
like in the
upped the
like doubled sentences because of the rebel
right.
stuff that's been happening. So
Yeah. So they double the sentences. He gets 6 years for literally running away from. They don't even. He doesn't even do anything bad, but because he ran away from them, he gets 6 years in this
and there's like
Empire prison.
no judicial system. It's like you just get sentenced and
No,
that's it.
yeah, she's just up there, literally going through the line like
Yeah,
6 years, 10 years, 3 years, like just sentencing everybody. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Which totally, like, I think that's exactly how it probably would go with
yeah.
like, local systems intermixing with the empire and stuff like that. So he gets sent to this prison. um Andy Serkis shows up, and this Andy Serkis is probably almost my favorite part of the show, and he's only been in 2 episodes, 3 episodes.
And with like I didn't know he was going to be in the show, and it's like
I
with
didn't either.
you don't. I feel
Complete
like
shock.
you don't cast him, and maybe they did just anyways. But it's like you don't cast him if you're not gonna like sneak in Snoke somehow, or like he gets captured
Right.
by the Empire. I don't know
That's interesting. That's
because like
interesting.
he did the
I
voice for
never even
Snoke,
had that thought.
so like I just find it so. And granted, like Snoke looks totally different, but it's not like he changed
Hmm.
his voice at all to be this character. He
Right.
sounds, you know.
Hmm.
Anyways, so it'd be interesting to see what they do with
Okay,
him.
that's a bonkers comparison. I've never even thought of that one time. So congratulations to you, Mark. You've officially dragged us down into the weeds.
Well,
I didn't think we were going to get into the weeds
so like yeah, I'm watching
on
the
this
episode.
episode.
I didn't
But
expect
here
him
we
to
are.
show up, and there he is. Just like okay, he's a
All
prisoner
right then.
already in the Empire. So I just feel like he's got to end up somewhere where he's in the Emperor's control.
Gosh, wouldn't
So
that be so wild if he turns out to be Snoke?
well, Snoke's a clone. I mean, anyways, so it's like, and that's the other thing. Like the Emperor wanted clones with people with Force power. So like, does this guy
Mhm.
have Force powers? So like, that's another. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a
Okay,
lot of
you.
weed thinking, but it could be too much. And it could just be like, no, we just casted him to be a red herring to everybody to throw him off the
Yeah.
scent to what we're actually
Okay.
going to do.
Not thinking about any of that, because that is absolutely not where my mind went.
Well, okay.
Andy Serkis. So Andy Serkis is
He's great. He's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's this like I don't know, what would you call him? He's like a line like leader of
Yeah, I would
like
say he's
part
like
of this factory in the prison or
he's
whatever.
he's basically like the floor manager for what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah. Basically. And like, so he's like, they're all working out their sentences. He's like, initially when we meet him, he's like, I've got whatever 270 days on my sentence or something like that. 249. Don't screw this up for me.
Yep.
I'm almost out of here, all that stuff. And my gosh, this guy is he's like, might be one of my favorite actors right now. Like, he is in everything right now. He started, I don't think he did have some acting roles like prior to the Lord of the Rings and being Gollum and stuff.
Into our vision through Gollum. He
Yeah,
motion capped
exactly.
Gollum. And
So
then from there,
know he's got range.
and he's directed
But
Venom 2. I mean,
that's true, he did. I didn't even think of that. That's
Venom
right,
2,
he did.
not the first one, I believe.
Venom 2.
Yeah.
So he's expanding. He's expanding his roles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like, so he is Kino Loy, this basically floor manager, like you said, of this prison. And so he kind of seems like he's just going to be a cameo, like side character. He basically is like just like managing everything. Cassian Andor comes in, starts working with this table crew, like kind of like standard factory prison stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the next episode, and like stuff is going down in this factory prison, but because they're prisoners, they have no way to communicate that between each other. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, but they know something's going on, but they don't really know.
So, and to give more context to that, is these like the guards wear these like Nike looking shoes, but we find out that the floor is tungsten. So it's like, because they show up, the guards have no guns, or some guards have guns, but like when we first see the first three guards, they don't have any weapons, and then they explain like basically everyone has like a chip implanted them, and they can like use this control to like shock everybody. And
Yeah.
there's like there's different
So
levels.
that's how they right. So that's how they control prisoners. They
Yep.
don't have. I mean, you go through these 2 episodes, and there's not many guards around.
Oh,
Pretty much everything is run by like
automated
threat
too. Yeah.
of right. Like they will shock
They can
at certain
monitor
times.
your efficiency, and they can be like table
Right.
5, blah blah blah, efficiency is low,
Yeah.
below
Right.
standard.
So every day the top table gets flavor in their food, and the bottom table gets shocked.
Yep.
That's how they run it. You don't want to be the bottom table. You want to get the top table so you can get flavor in your food. And then they go in at night. They have these little cubicles, and the floor is like the tungsten or
It gets
whatever.
yep.
So if you go out of your cell at night, you die because it fries you.
Andy Serkis' character makes. I think he was the one who makes a reference like, hopefully you don't walk during your sleep.
Yeah,
And
hopefully
I
didn't
thought of
sleepwalk.
Max right
Thought
away.
of
I was
Max.
like, Max.
Max would not last
MacArthur
very
would wake
long.
up, and MacArthur would have ended Max pretty quick.
MacArthur would have had a death wish in that
Yeah.
prison for sure. Yeah, Max would not have lasted long in that prison at all.
No,
Oh
okay, so like
gosh.
back to that, like making it like so dehumanizing. Like the part that to me that was just like wow, like just shocking, was when they showered, and it's like all these
Mhm.
dudes are just naked, standing like almost shoulder to shoulder, and it's like this
Yeah.
mist that covers them.
Right.
I was like,
Right.
oh
And
my
there's
gosh, like
no talking. Everybody's just standing still, face forward, nothing.
yep,
Like you step out of line, like you get shocked,
yep,
potentially die. Like that's the threat that they're working with here. Not that many guards around.
no.
So, and initially they get to this place, and I'm like, man, where is this going? Like, is Cassian literally just gonna like
Well,
live
clearly
out
he's
his
got to get.
sentence here for the
Well,
rest of
he
this?
can't if we're only 5 years. Remember that 5 years before stuff. So
Right.
like clearly he
Exactly.
gets
So,
either something happens or he gets busted out. So
right. So, episode 9, the latest episode here, there's rumblings among everybody. We got the lines leaders. They kind of
because it
like
was like a
they
lower
still
level, something happened,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like a lower level apparently that gets the whole
the
floor
floor,
gets
yeah,
fried, gets killed
killed. Yeah.
by the floors because they stepped out of line. We don't know what they did yet, but
Oh, and then context on that, we know one of the characters on his floor or like on his team is like
mhm.
does sign language to another person that's like
Yeah, so
across
that's how
the
they
galley.
communicate between
Yep.
the floors. But like, there's like no real communication that
Yes.
they have to do kind of like sign language to kind of try to figure
Yes.
out what's going on.
But that's how
So
the
like
rumors spread is
very
because of
limited,
that. Yep.
right? Very limited communication. That's another like prison tactic. They don't let these prisoners communicate
Only the floor
with each
managers
other.
can talk with each other. That's what we learned.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so Andy Serkis's character knows a decent amount, but he's almost done with his
Okay.
sentence, so he doesn't want to screw anything up.
Remember when he made a comment when Cassian first gets there about like all his rules. He's like, if you do that, and it's like if you're gonna lose your mind or something else, keep it to yourself. And
Yeah.
then there's a scene where you're coming up to where it's like you kind of see he's cracking a little bit with everything that's going on.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we kind of get like camera shots of like different people in this factory area, especially like Cassian's team that he's working with. And we in the second, the second episode, which is the 9th episode, we
9.
find out that like the old guy that is on their team, like he's like literally having a stroke while they're like working during the day.
Yep.
So they're trying to like keep working as this dude like can't even stand up because they don't want to get fried, because this guy's probably going to die if they get fried, right?
Yep.
So they're like trying to keep him alive, trying to keep themselves like going. And again, it comes back to the intensity in the show. Like they're literally in a factory making machine parts of some kind, which we have no clue what they are, but like this is all they're doing. And this is so intense. Like my heart is pounding. I don't even know what the heck is going on in this show. And it's like, it's just crazy to think that, again, no lightsabers, no force, no Sith, no Jedi, no blasters even. Like we haven't even really had much of fight. We had a fight like scene in episode 6 when they were doing the heist.
Well, and we also
But
have
like
the scene where they invaded that town and like shot up a bunch of people.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah. So we have had a couple
But I
like
get what you're
fight scenes,
saying. It's not
and
not like super intense where both parties are really shooting
right.
at each other, except for the
Yeah,
heist scene
exactly.
where it's a
But
little
like
bit.
it's
But yeah,
just it's crazy that we have this show that is so good and engaging outside of Star Wars. Like again, I mentioned it before, but this might by the end of this show, it might be my favorite show of 2022. It might make my Stan Lee's list. Like it's up there. It's definitely in the top 6. We'll see where it lands by the end of the show. But like if you take away all of the Star Wars elements of this, which there are, granted, there aren't that many Star Wars elements of this. This is a good show.
mm-hmm.
If you can you do the same to Obi-Wan? I don't know if that's true because
There's
I
more
mean, granted,
expectation in that
right,
show.
there's a
Like
lot of
here's
expectation.
a line that
There's
has
a
to
lot
go.
of
Versus Andor, you basically it's a free for all play of how you want to tell your
yeah,
story.
right. And granted, again, absolutely loved Obi-Wan. Like this is not a diss on Obi-Wan, but they did a lot of fan service in that show. And that was part of the reason why they did that show
Yeah,
because that's what the fans wanted. And I was one of the ones that wanted that. So I'm not going to complain about getting what we wanted. But this show, Andor, is not relying on fan service. It's not relying on the Star Wars elements
or
to make
any
the show
main
good.
player from the
Yeah,
series.
exactly. It's using just literally storyline and like intense cinematography, like literally just basic like filming and show like making stuff
Well,
to make this show good.
and
And
not
it fits so perfectly in the Star Wars universe
mhm.
that like uh, how can I not be 100% all in on this?
And not
It's
pussyfooting around how serious everything is. Like going back
right.
to what we talked about before, where it's like people will get killed, people will get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
people have to make decisions. They're going to be the betterment
Right.
for the group versus an individual, which we get at the end
Right.
of this episode 9.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And like this is no original like Star Wars trilogy where somebody gets hit with a big stick and they go flying off and scream and
Yeah,
like it's like comedic, in a sense. Like it's not meant to be comedic, but it's still funny type of thing. Like this is not that. Like this is gritty, intense. Like I am
it's like
just
a space
on.
western.
Yeah, it's a space western, and I've said this actually to my brother when I was talking about it. I was like, this this almost feels more like a sci-fi show in general than a Star Wars show. Like
Mhm.
it fits perfectly in the Star Wars universe. So don't take that as like a negative, but
I get
like
what you're saying.
yeah, like it's
Or like
like you could watch this as somebody who's never ever seen anything of Star Wars and still like be like, wow, this is a pretty decent show. Like I seriously think somebody who's never seen one iota of Star Wars could watch this and still enjoy the
I would
show.
have to go back and rewatch because like I kind of agree with you on that. Because I'm trying to think like, do they kind of go off the top like in the first few episodes how like seriously like bad the
Right.
Empire is? Because like that's the
Yeah.
overarching thing. Like as fans, we know how bad they
True.
are. So like that kind
Yeah.
of like that's a character in itself of the
And
show
that's
is like
that's
the
probably
Empire.
right.
So like
Right. That's
yeah, you're
that's
right. Like
something that we probably could have missed because we're huge Star Wars fans. So
yeah,
like we just take all of that for
but
granted. We
I
already
I
know
would
all
agree
that
with you
stuff.
that I think
Yeah.
a non I would say a person that doesn't know anything about Star Wars could watch a show and be like, ah, this is a good show.
Yeah.
So like without
Whereas
not saying I already say it's a good show no matter what,
right.
but like they would say, yeah, this is really good without having
Yeah.
the fandom lore behind it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, again, I think this is fantastic. And then let's cap it off because I think this last final scene in episode 9 has been the best scene in the entire show. So, I mean, I mentioned this old guy on their team basically is having a stroke. He ends up, they call the medical team on him. He ends up dying, but Cassian is in there with Andy Serkis's character. And basically, the med guy comes and he knows a little bit more information about everything that's happening in the prison.
And he's very has like
The
a very somber vibe to him too.
Yeah, right. And he's like ticked. Like he's like, this is not what I want to be doing right
Yep.
now, basically, is what is the
And
vibe you
I'm
kind of
assuming
get from
he's
him.
also a prisoner because he's wearing that white
Right. And
vest, but with like
he
a
doesn't have shoes on, right?
yep. And
If I'm correct, like I
he
don't
had
think
like
the med guy
blue.
has shoes on.
So I'm assuming
Right.
they
So
must
he
take
is
prisoners who are medical people. That like that's their assignment is like
right. Yeah. Yep. So that's yeah, that's part of, the prison as well. So
mhm.
he also reports to all the different, like, areas of the
Yep.
factory prison. He knows some information. So Cassian this whole time has been like, there's something going on, like we need to know. Like he's pressing Andy Serkis's character, and up until this point, um Kino is Andy Serkis's character. I want to
Yep.
say that so I don't keep saying Andy Serkis's character. Kino, so he has been like pretty resistive to like what Cassian is kind of putting off. Like he's like,
Yep.
no, I don't want to mess things up.
Yep.
Like
I want to get
I'm
my
out of here.
200 plus days out of the way and
Right.
be out.
Yeah. I want to just get out of here, just put my head down, do my work, get out of here. So don't screw this up. Like that's the attitude he's taken. And then you just see something change because the med guy basically informs them that like the reason there was a big fry of a whole section of prisoners is because one of the new guys that came to the floor just got released from a different section of that floor specifically.
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of context that we probably missed here, but basically what's happening is they're taking the prisoners that get off of their sentence and literally just putting them in a different section of the prison.
Yep.
Like they're not releasing the prisoners. So Andy Serkis hears that and he's like, okay, I'm never getting out of here. So you finally see that switch in his mind. And there's this scene that is just, oh man, like one of the best scenes I've ever had. Andy Serkis is kind of processing all of this in this like tunnel thing with all these prisoners, and he's trying to get them in line. But at the same time, he's trying to process this and like figure out what he's got to do. And I don't think there's ever been a scene in TV history where you can sense anxiety
Well,
more
that's the part
than him in that
where the
scene.
whole like keep it to yourself, you're gonna lose your mind. And it's like
Right.
he's
Exactly.
cracking there. He's getting that like that
He's
worry where
cracking.
he's like,
Exactly.
we actually need to do something to get out of this.
Yeah. So he's like, all of a sudden he's barking out orders to guys like, we don't know anything, like calm down, like we'll get more information later. And then like kind of under his breath, he's like, if we even like get out of this, like if
Yeah.
something is even there to be found. I forget the line that he actually sells, but he like under his breath, he's like losing it, like you said. And it's just the fact that he is able to keep it together on the outside, but like I'm looking at his eyes and I mean, you can see that he's freaking out inside his head. And that was just incredible acting by Andy Serkis. Again, probably my favorite part of this show so far. Unfortunately, I feel like he's going to be a guy that's going to die. I think he's going to like sacrifice himself for like some of the prisoners or something like
Or
that
be
at some
taken
point.
by the Empire to do cloning, whatever.
Oh, yeah, maybe that. I don't know. Again, that's something that absolutely did
So they
not
can
cross
use
my
his
mind until
DNA
you
to
said
become
that.
Snoke or something. I don't know.
And so, yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, Andy Serkis like plays Snoke, like the voice of Snoke, and does like the
The mocap.
CGI
Yeah.
like mocap. Yeah, exactly. So, I did not even put that together, Mark. So
And that's the
kudos
thing,
to
like,
you.
did the people who cast it like not think of it, or like, because that to me is just
I'm
like
assuming they
you're in Star
knew.
Wars world, like why do
Right.
that if like there's not going to
Yeah.
be a connection, or like I
I'm
said
not mad
before,
about it
it's
because
a
like
red herring to
he.
make people like
Right.
pontificate on that stuff and just
It's a red herring for you to pontificate on
yeah.
because again, I never even thought of that. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm not mad about it because again, he's been one of the best parts of the show to me in just the very short period of time that he's been here.
Yeah.
So definitely not mad about it. I don't even know if we gave our ratings yet, but
Oh,
I'm
Andor 6 out of
like,
6.
it's a 6 out of 6. I can't say many more great things about this show. Like it's just wow.
like
It's incredible.
when I do my review for the Stanleys, I will be surprised if this isn't in my top 6. So
Top 6, yeah, right. Honestly, like, man, dude, I'm telling you, this is a top 3 candidate as of right now, and it could be number 1 by the time this show is over if they nail that. And
yeah,
there is
be able to
nothing
end it
in this
good.
show, like, I don't know if you got this sense, Mark, but like in all of those Marvel miniseries, I was almost probably every single one, I was questioning how they're going to stick the landing. And I was like, man, I just how are they going to put all this together in the 3 episodes, 2 episodes, 1 episode that they have left? I don't know how they can do that and make everybody completely satisfied with this ending. I do not feel that at all
I think
with this
that would
show.
be in line with with Andor though, if they do that, where it's just like you're left with like, oh, okay, this sucks, as in like it like
True.
sucks the situation they're left in, because like that's kind of
Right.
like the, no one kind of gets a good hand dealt to them in this show, so
Yeah.
that's how it should
But
end. But it probably ends with him getting out of the prison, I would
right.
imagine.
Right. But like I'm saying, like I don't have any doubt with how they're going to end this season
Oh, I
because
get what
of
you're
what I've
saying.
seen so far.
So you're
Yeah, like
saying,
not the characters
unlike
themselves.
the Marvel shows where you're like,
Right.
yeah, I don't know if they're gonna be able to do it, right? You're saying they're gonna do it right here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I have zero doubt that they're
Gotcha.
going to nail the ending in the show
Yeah.
because of how good the show has been. I couldn't say that about any of the Marvel shows. I don't think any of them. Like WandaVision was probably the one that I thought I was the most confident about, and then it
That show
didn't
ended.
end the
It
way
ended
that any of us
wonderful.
liked. So that was it. After that, I lost all confidence in all of my Marvel shows. But yeah, man, I absolutely love Andor. If you have you better have like watched all of Andor up until this point if you're still listening, because I was gonna say if you haven't checked this out, you need to. People are sleeping on the show, man. I think now it's definitely starting to get a little bit more steam online, but like up until episode 6 or 7, nobody was talking about this.
I'm just
Absolutely
happy
nobody.
that I have you guys who are watching this, so I'm not like out here advocating for you guys to watch it like I was with For All Mankind.
With literally every other show on Apple TV
And then you
Plus.
guys pick it up like a few weeks later when everyone's talking about it. It's like, oh god, I started watching Andor. It's amazing. It's like I've been saying that for a
Yeah.
while.
I've been saying that
Where
for a
that's
while, guys.
not the case. Where like you guys have watched
Yep.
it, and we like
Side
literally
note.
across the board like love that show or love
Yeah.
Andor.
Side note, For All Mankind is probably also going to be on my top 6.
Yeah.
Fantastic show.
And
That's your Mark plug.
and the
Go
insight,
watch For All Mankind.
Yeah, go watch it. The Insight. Isaac even teased that he might not have a Marvel show in his top 6 for Stanley. So like I'm interested
know,
in
guys.
what the other shows are going to be.
I know, guys. It's going to be a weird, wild top 6 for this year for the Stan Lee's TV shows, because there have been so many good shows out this year.
Yeah, this year
Ugh.
has just been like bangers for content.
Yeah,
so.
just one after the other, bangers. So there might be one that sneaks in. So we'll see. But there's been so many good shows. Yeah. So like again, there may not be a Marvel show from 2022 in my top 6 Stan Lee awards at the end of the year. It may not happen. I'm going to leave it at that. It's a little tease for you guys to come back and watch the Stan Lees at the end of the year. Little tease. Well, Mark, I think we've really talked up Andor quite a bit in this episode. Is there anything that we missed that you want to talk about? I'm trying to think of any storylines that we missed. Cyril is a creep, dude. That dude is... I don't know if we've had a creepier character in Star Wars up until this point.
It'll be interesting to see, because of that conversation with Skarsgård, I forget his character's name, and Saul Guerrero. Like, how does Saul become more involved in these next 3 episodes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that'll be interesting. Skarsgård is another one we didn't talk about. He
joins the rebellion, if I'm remembering this right, and then leaves it by the time we get to Rogue One.
Yep.
he like
Yep.
factions off again because he's too much because okay, that was one thing I loved with that interaction, how he basically talks about how there's all these different types of groups in the galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, it's gonna be
Yes.
hard to get them all
Yes.
combined to form a
Right.
rebellion. And I was like, the one that sticks out to me is the human cultist. What does that mean?
What is that? What
So
is that?
yeah, it'll be
Dude, yeah.
interesting.
So
Like,
okay, that's a great point. Saw Gerrera is one of those little tidbits in Star Wars that is just so good. Like they just put him, a little piece of him, in like so much Star Wars media that like I absolutely love every time he makes an appearance.
yeah,
It's just fantastic. When he showed up in Jedi Fallen Order, I was like, oh yes, please give me more. I can't wait for the sequel to that, by the way, as well. That's
oh
gonna
yeah,
be awesome. But yeah, that like there's like a little chapter where he was like leading like a rebel battle, and it was just like, this is awesome. I absolutely love this. Him just showing up in Solo, in Clone Wars. Rebels? Did he show up in Rebels? Or was it Clone Wars?
I think he might
He
have
showed
been
up in one of them.
dead by rebels. If I'm
You're
forgetting
probably
how
right. Yeah,
far
you're probably
that
right.
is,
So it
but
would have
yeah,
been Clone Wars. Yeah, because we saw
because
early Saw Gerrera
he
in Clone
dies in Rogue
Wars.
One,
Yeah,
or
that's
at
right.
least like we assume he dies. In Rogue
Yeah.
One.
But yeah, we saw like early Saw Gerrera in Clone Wars.
Yep.
Like this is like way before he was like, he was still doing Saw Gerrera things, but like
Yep.
the rebellion was not even a twinkle in anybody's eye at that point. He was like still a young man in
A young
in
boy.
Rebels when we saw him. Young
Yep.
boy. Yeah, but that's an awesome piece. Yeah, it'll be so interesting to see where they go. Like maybe we get a Saw Gerrera like Tales of the Jedi short. Whew,
Yeah.
whew.
We're all
I'd
for it.
be into it. Or just a short explaining all of those factions that he said.
I kind of want that. I was like, what did those
A
all
human
mean?
cultist short.
Like, yeah.
Oh man. Oh, so good. Well, guys, if you have any comments on Tales of the Jedi or Andor, you can join the Infinity Bros universe by joining our Discord server, and you can chat with us there. You can go to theinfinitybros.com, check out all of our social media sites, and leave us a comment or email us at infinitybros, or let's see, what is it again? infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, we'd love, love, love to hear your feedback and what you guys are thinking about these incredible, incredible pieces of art from Star Wars and Disney. Thanks, Mark, for
Yeah.
joining me today. It's been
Glad
a
to be
blast.
here.
I'm
Break out
always I'm
old
always glad to
reliable
get
for the
yeah,
podcast.
always glad to get a chat with old reliable and go dive into the weeds with you. There was a like I literally, that thought never entered my mind that like Andy Serkis could have something to do with Snoke
Well,
until you just said that.
that's why
I
they pay me.
You never know what you're gonna get
Yeah.
when you listen to a podcast with Mark Jones on it.
You learn stuff.
And thank you, Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. Thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000. Bye.
Bye.